Something really interesting happened when I went to see a show not so long ago. I went to see, have you ever seen O'Malley? You know them, Funkhouser? You ever heard of O'Malley?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They're sort of like this rather, I don't know what you'd call them. They're sort of like a Hispanic hip-hop jam band. Does that make sense? Am I adequate? Am I doing them justice? Very talented musicians, not necessarily my bag, like not a band I'm super passionate about, but a band I'd seen a couple times before in the past, like on Warped Tours as a kid. They've been around for a really long time, and they were rolling through town, and they were doing something kind of interesting, which is they were playing with a symphony, and I was like, all right, my curiosity has been aroused. I'll bite. And I probably wouldn't have gone to see him if it wasn't for the fact that they were playing with a symphony, because I was just like, what are they going to be doing? What are they going to, how's that going to go? Because not only is it sort of like a band backed up by a symphony, which, you know, could go one of two ways. It could be cheesy and horrendous, or it could be like kind of majestic and awesome. But the other thing I was wondering about was like, a symphony crowd, people with season tickets that just, go to see everything. Like, what the hell is this Mexican hip hop group doing on stage with our beloved symphony that, has also, last time we were here, they were doing an evening with Burt Bacharach. This is not the same thing at all. Like I said, this is kind of like a Warped Tour band. And it was, first and foremost, it was really good. Like I said, this is not a band that I love. I'm not a huge fan of, but, I appreciate them, and I was just kind of curious to see what was going on. But the people that like them are really into them. And they have this sort of like activist streak to them. And I don't know exactly where their politics lie, but they do, have politics. And they speak out for things like peace, kind of hippy-dippy things that guys in bands tend to speak out for, alternatives to violence. And look, I'm a big fan of alternatives to violence. That's something I can get behind. I don't know where I stand with the rest of them. But what was interesting about the crowd was it was exactly as I expected it to be. Half of the people were people that were O'Malley fans and stoked to be there, and the other half were people like, I say, I've got season tickets to the symphony, and I don't know why are the people that aren't white on stage? Why are the people that aren't white on stage? What's going on here? I say, it's not exactly Chopin, is it? It was literally a whole bunch of very nonplussed people going, what the hell have I stumbled onto? And it was at a venue where everyone was sitting down, which is not the way you usually watch a band like this. And they kept saying things like, get up and dance. And I was like, this is going to be painful. And all throughout the first half of their show, they're like, get up and dance, get up and dance. And there was some, occasional dancing, and it was a little sad. It was a little pathetic. I was like, oh, God. Either you're going to quit this or you're going to win these people over. And I don't know what happened during the intermission, but something very interesting happened after the intermission. Something that I'm probably going to carry with me for a very, very long time. Something that was an important reminder, an important lesson about A, the power of music, B, the fact that there's really no reason whatsoever that we, as a species, shouldn't be getting along. What happened? It was magical. Freaking magical, I tell you. Joining the conversation at ADSXE, at Funk FM. Thank you so much for hanging out, being part of my radio family.
What's that sound? I'm coming so loud from your radio dial. ADV, get it down when you're rocking the jams. Here I am, going back once again. I'm ruling all.
So, went to see O'Malley at the Symphony. This sort of like Hispanic, almost like a Hispanic Sublime, I suppose, really. Sort of like Spanish language, hip-hop, funk. I don't know. If you've seen them, you know exactly what I'm talking about. A veritable mishmash, a hodgepodge, a melting pot of musical styles, but one that's more based around inciting mosh pits than entertaining people at the symphony, don't you know? Desperately, they were trying to get people out of their seats because, what the hell are they doing playing at a place where people sit down? This type of band that's more used to mosh pits than anything else. And throughout the first half of their set, they were desperately trying to get people to dance. They kept saying, like, hey, it's okay if you dance. It's okay if you dance. It's okay if you dance. And there was a smattering of dancing that was quickly quelled by the ushers. Like, if you want to dance, you got to go to the sides. You can't obstruct people's view who are sitting down. And then something happened in the second half of the show. I don't know exactly what it was. But it was this mixture of people that were, I don't know. It was this mixture of people that were, like I said, what you would expect at a show like this. Hispanic, skate punk kids, and sort of very upper crusty, uptight symphony fans. And something happened where, I don't know, maybe they'd had a couple extra beers during the intermission or something like that, but the Ozomatli fans were like, man, we're just going to do this. And they stood up. They started dancing. And they were in the way of everybody that was sitting down, trying to sort of like enjoy the show and appreciate the musicianship. And, you could kind of look around people and see the band a little bit, but then another person got up and started dancing and you couldn't really look around them. And finally, it was just, you couldn't see anything. But no one's like, I'm going to leave. Everyone was just sort of like, I can't be bothered to leave. And slowly, one or two people started standing up so they could see as well. And then it was almost like involuntary. But they're like, okay, we'll put our hands in the air when they say to. And then they started almost resentfully moving in time to the music. And it was almost as if you could see the look on people's faces, their expressions change. Be like, I say, I'm having fun. It's a different type of fun than I'm used to having, but I'm having fun. And I don't know about you, but for me, music has always been kind of a confrontational thing. I believe in punk rock. I believe in fighting for your band. I spent a lot of time out on the road as a kid, winning audiences over, mostly by screaming at them through terrible PAs. Just really sort of like this aggressive confrontational punk rock thing. And that's sort of how I saw music growing up. I've never once in my life seen such a powerful uniting of people as I saw at this show. There was a freaking conga line going around this place that usually houses symphonies. And if you looked in it, every age, race, and demographic was represented. And everyone was having a good time. And what was interesting is in the first half of the show, when people were starting to get up and dance, you could pretty much bottle the sentiment of the symphony regulars being like, ugh, people that aren't white ruin everything. And there was this outpouring of togetherness and happiness, and it was just fun. It was fun. There was no two ways about it. It was impossible not to get caught up in the fun. And it was such, like I said, a uniting thing. And it was an excellent reminder of the fact that we are all underneath the skin on a biological level. We are so unbelievably similar. And migratory patterns dating back to our ancestors have taken us to different parts of the world. And different parts of the world with different environments have caused us to evolve in different ways. People that lived in areas where there was a lot of ice developed flaps of skin over their eyes. People that were in hotter climates, their skin became darker. But all of us, on a biological level, underneath the skin, we are all incredibly similar. We have the same wants, hopes, and dreams for the most part. Now, this is obviously sort of negating folks like ISIL that just want to saw people's heads off for no good reason other than that they're crazy. Just you can't reason with them. You can't. But the vast majority of us want the same things. We want to be happy and we want to get along. And I think we all know this, but if you get a chance to indulge in a reminder like I did at the show the other night, if you get a chance to be in the presence of a powerful unifying force, whether that is music or whether that is someone speaking or whether that is culture or art or love or fun or whatever it is, expose yourself to that at every opportunity you get, because we must remember in these days of increasingly active racial divisions, in these days of people that would seek to divide us for profit, figureheads of religious natures that would seek to tell us that our fellow man is our enemy in some way, shape, or form because they voted differently or because the color of their skin is different, or people that would race bait for profit. It is so important to remember that underneath it all, we are the same. We want the same things. We have different means of getting there, but we want the same things. And we should remember that. And when we encounter people that experience life differently, have fun differently, if they're not hurting anyone, we should maybe step back and learn a couple things from them. Maybe join in. We might actually have some freaking fun ourselves. That would be a nice turn up for the book. Speaking of fun, how are you today, Funkhouser?
I'm good.
You just moved, didn't you? You are now officially cohabiting with a girlfriend.
Yep, in Pasadena.
How's that working out?
It's all right. It's all right. You know, it's like the first week. Every time you move, you got to look for like appliances and like, where do I park and what do the street signs say and everything. And, you know, you can't park overnight in Pasadena. So it's been kind of a challenge looking for parking at night. But, you know, certain cities do that.
Yeah, I hate dealing with... After having lived in New York City for a big chunk of my life, I would probably neglect to live somewhere where I had to look for a parking spot at the end of the night. I would refuse to have to deal with that. Like, I remember when I moved out of New York City, like, if I'm going to have to look for or pay for parking, it'll put me off going to something. Like... There's this one venue out here that's basically sort of like a college, and unlike going downtown to a House of Blues type of situation or something like that where you got to look for parking and you got to look for parking where you got to pay for it, like this one college venue that I like a lot has like ample free parking, and for that reason I would much rather go see a show there than anywhere else. It's just a converted school gym, kind of a crappy place to see a show, but just because I don't have to stress about parking, that's where I want to be. But you now have to look for parking every single night of your life, huh?
Yeah, until I get one of those parking passes. I guess the city,
okay.
You know, that's how the city makes money. But did you hear Kimmel took the subway to the Emmys last night? He didn't even drive.
I did not catch that. I mean, you know, it's probably the easiest way to do things in New York. Bloomberg used to take the subway in New York City all the time. He was like, it's the fastest way from A to B. I'm not going to take a town car. I'm not going to do something like that. I'm just going to take the subway like I always have.
Smart.
Yep.
Economical.
Economical. Well, we'll talk about your living situation in just a little bit. Right now, though, let's look at the events of today in our segment, My Witness News. Not in any way, shape, or form fair. Certainly not balanced. What happened?
Well, the 66th Annual Primetime Emmy Awards aired last night on NBC.
Once again, Jim Parsons won for Best Actor. Modern Family won for Best Comedy. And once again, I was the winner for not watching. What else?
Breaking Bad won Emmys for Outstanding Drama, Outstanding Actor, Outstanding Supporting Actress, Outstanding Supporting Actor, and Outstanding Writing. So basically everything.
Yeah, basically collected more metal than Suge Knight's butt at a Chris Brown party. What else?
Did he make it? Is he okay?
I don't. Yeah, he's alive. Seth Meyers did a really good job. He did an excellent job of reminding us why we don't miss him on Weekend Update. If you're watching the Emmys, you're probably stoked if halfway through Ferguson Luter stole your TV. Go on.
It's funny how the Emmys now consider shows that air online, like Netflix and stuff.
Yeah. At this rate, maybe next year might